It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Oh boy, BRUTAL, brutal loss for the Minnesota Twins in this series finale against the Houston Astros. Declan Goff here from Target Field, featuring Semisonic in the background, if you can hear that. It is indeed closing time. Closing time that didn't go well for the Twins, I guess that is, as they depart for Kansas City. This is the SKOR North Twins Show. Hit that like button and subscribe button here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. You pushed us over 4,800 subs. We're now closing in on 5,000 subs, so thank you so much. So if you haven't, please like and subscribe. And yes, I've teased this before, and we'll probably start with it at some point this week. But we'll be getting some more updates from the St. Paul Saints throughout this podcast and this season. So if you've been wanting those, if you've been wanting to hear about those are coming here starting next week. Now that we've had about weeks of a minor league season and an up and down Twins season to start. So yeah, let's talk about what the hell happened today. Twins were up 7-1. Offense just runs Blanco out of the game in the second inning. Things are tracking well. Top of the order has honestly a great day at the plate. Wallner had 4 hits, which tied a career high. Carlos Correa reached base in his first 3 plate appearances. Larnach drove in a few. Byron Buxton had a good day. Ryan Jeffers with the torpedo bat had an RBI. I mean, a lot of good offensive things today. But the Twins bullpen in the 9th inning absolutely melts down. And you know what? I should say it melted down, because it did. I mean, that's what happened. But this is also what happens when your starters can't get an out in the 5th inning, and you now have to tax a bullpen. You have to use every single person in the Twins bullpen through an inning, or at least made an appearance in the last 24 hours for the Minnesota Twins. And Chris Paddock today gets off to a shaky start, allows hits on the first 2 pitches he throws. Only 1 come across, but the offense gives him a 7-1 lead. He trots out there for the 5th inning, gives up a couple more runners. He ends up getting pulled on 68 pitches, and then you have to have your bullpen once again throw 5 innings just to close things out. And in the last 24 hours, the Twins bullpen over these last 2 games has thrown 169 pitches. So Simeon Woods-Richardson's on the mound on Monday. He needs to go 6 or 7 innings. It's very easy, and he deserves blame in Griffin Jax for not securing the victory in the 9th. I certainly won't fight anyone on that. But at the end of the day, when your starters can't go into the 5th inning, that's a problem. And yes, this is dubbed the best bullpen in baseball, and it's easier. It's very easy to look at that and kind of laugh at that moniker 9 games into the season. But your starters need to go deep, and they went from Duran into Jax today. Again, the Twins were up 7-1 at one point, and then eventually Houston keeps chipping away. They bring in Duran for the 8th. He gets the 8-9-1. Just looks effective as can be. He just throws 13 pitches. And then Griffin Jax, the Twins pitcher of the year from last season, gets the 9th inning, goes single, home run, double, and then all of a sudden things are tied. I did ask Rocco why that happened, why they went from Duran to Jackson. He did point out, and I remember this multiple times last year, they've done that before. This is not new of them going from Duran into Jax for the 9th, and he said there's going to be other games this season where Griffin Jax is expected to get the save. Griffin hadn't pitched in 5 days. He hadn't pitched since April 1st. So he was certainly well rested. He didn't throw yesterday, and I really don't. It's easy to second guess the decision after you see the results, but I don't really look at that's going to happen again. Like, they're going to go from Duran into Jax. Those are, their number 1 and 2 best options in their bullpen, and there's going to be times where it does line up. Duran gets the 8th, Jax gets the 9th. Is it more often than not it's reversed, that Jax goes into Duran? Yes, I think that's safe to assume. But brutal day, just absolutely brutal day, brutal ending to the season, brutal end to the series, I should say, not the season, even though some might think it is. And now that you're 3-6, and I was being cheeky with this observation, but 3-6 looks so much worse than 4-5, and they had this game won. I think ESPN Analytics gave them, at the height here, I believe it was a 93 96% chance to win this ball game, and they weren't able to close that out. And yeah, Rocco mentioned they have to have thick skin. I don't disagree with that. You do have to have thick skin. 96% chance to win this game at one point in the bottom of the 8th. And in the 4th, it was 95.9 when they were up 7-1. You got to win those games. You simply have to. So I know it's very easy to look at that decision making and say that's the wrong decision making. Griffin Jax is the best pitcher in the bullpen going into this year. They needed him to get those outs. He didn't get those outs. That's what happened. Even in the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th inning, the Twins had runners on first and second, nobody out. A couple insurance runs, maybe just one run would have made the biggest difference in the world. And they can't get anyone across. And that ends up hurting them because they end up losing this game and things get tied in the 9th inning. So brutal end to the series against Houston. I thought over the last 2 days, the offense started to pick things up a little bit. I mean, you have to be mostly pleased with what they've been able to do offensively over the last 2 games. We're in, sample size season. They've only played 9 so far. But when we were trying to figure out the identity of this team, it was pitching, right? It was dubbed the best bullpen in baseball. They have 3 rock stars at the top of their rotation in Pablo, Joe Ryan, and Bailey Ober. And they have some very intriguing back-end options in Simeon Woods-Richardson and guys in the minor leagues, and Chris Paddock's just kind of here. I mean, he was hard on himself. Chris Paddock was after the game, and he should be. I don't deny that he shouldn't be hard on himself. But if your starters cannot go into the 5th inning, I believe 5 of the 9 games, no Twins starter has gotten an out in the 5th. Like, they have to pitch better. They simply just have to pitch better to keep them longer into games. And if that happens, then yes, they're going to probably win more games than they won't. But it's just a brutal way to wrap up a series that you had won essentially in the 4th inning. And some really good, encouraging things at the plate today with guys like Matt Wallner having a 4-hit day and Carlos Correa reaching and being patient. Trevor Larnach continues to quietly have just really productive at-bats. He drives in 3 runs a day. But when your bullpen is asked to throw 11, 12 innings in 2 games, it is bound that someone is going to mess up, and that's what happened. Cole Sands I thought was great today. Duran looked good. Justin Topa, who was finally healthy, he looked good. But you cannot expect the bullpen to just put complete zeros up over and over again. And they are well rested, for sure. But now they don't have another off day till April 17th. So now you've used all these guys basically in the last 2 games. That's going to be very difficult, I think, for the Twins to try to replicate now in Kansas City for 4. And then when they come back here for 7 more games before that off day hits on April 17th. So, yeah, just a brutal way to end this game. Kind of encapsulates, right, I think, the first 9 games of this 25 season that they just haven't been able to put all 3 things together, whether it's their offense being dead, whether it's their starting pitching, maybe not going the distance. And yeah, just a tough way to lose. Hit that like button and subscribe button, though, here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel. We'll have a State of the Twins episode tomorrow. Initially, I really liked what I had for State of the Twins in the bottom of the 5th inning. Now we have some other things to point out with Mackie and Judd tomorrow, so that should be fun. We'll have a Trevor Plouffe Tuesday, too, to talk about things, too. Some other news from today as well. Derek Falvey did speak at Target Field this morning. Basically gave some injury updates, some things that also this show has talked about before here on the SKOR North Twins Show, that Brooks Lee, he has now officially began his rehab assignment in Fort Myers. So Brooks Lee is playing shortstop for the Fort Myers Miracle on Sunday, which is good. He's been rehabbing down there, so that was good to know that Brooks Lee is feeling pretty good and probably closer to returning for the Minnesota Twins. They definitely need a backup shortstop, so the fact that he's getting closer and probably has a couple games there in Fort Myers, maybe joins the team when they come back home. I don't know if he'll join them into Kansas City for those 4 games that the Twins are about to play for this next week, but he could certainly get some time. Brooks Lee, by the way, played 7 innings, went 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts today in his rehab assignment. This is more of him just getting comfortable and seeing live pitching for the first time in a while. And then I'm Royce Lewis, which I know we've had some reports on that stuff here on the Twins Show in the last few days. But Royce is progressing from his hamstring situation. He's in week 3 of about an 8-week timeline, is what Falvey gave today. Royce also touched on during the Treasure Island Baseball Network on the radio side that he described the injury as a major bruise and really still hasn't been able to run on consecutive days. So, he's still a ways out. This is a very hamstrings are a very sensitive situation, and so he hasn't been able to run consecutively. It's still very much some discomfort. I know I teased that it's probably going to be longer than initially anticipated, and I still kind of believe that. I think maybe middle of May sometime, maybe June for Royce. It's just a hamstring's very tricky situation to be in. But a couple injury updates there, obviously, for Brooks Lee and Royce Lewis. Twins could obviously use some reinforcements, so that should be exciting. Hopefully Brooks Lee comes back here soon, but we'll see. Looking at some of the comments here, I see on the YouTube channel, people mad at Rocco. I don't even know. Nick Naylor says, I don't even know how Rocco does well other than being a former player. Brandon says Minnesota media needs to dig into Baldelli more than they do. I mean, that's why I wanted to ask at the end of the press conference. I'm not even sure if it made Twins TV, to be honest, because it kind of wrapped up, and then I snuck in the question of just why they did that in terms of Duran into Jax, even though I kind of knew that I'd get that answer. And, I'll say this about Rocco. There's things I disagree with. I probably would have done Jackson and Duran because Jax was going to be more rested, even though you're going to get the heart of the order for Houston in the 9th. But I'll say this for Rocco. He is transparent and he does not give you a nothing burger in terms of information that you want. I'm obviously lucky to be able to cover the team and be in the clubhouse and ask him things on the record, off the record. But he makes decisions that I still disagree with, and that's totally fine. I don't think Rocco's going to change stuff just because some random podcast kid says something. But yeah, I don't think that was the right decision, but I don't fault the logic either because those are the 2 best pitchers and the Twins have to close it out. But we'll have some other updates, though, on the St. Paul Saints. Let's get in some. They were walked off today. They actually played a game. Either they're getting rained out or getting walked off. That's kind of been the St. Paul Saints story for the first week of the season. But we'll have some updates on some minor league things here on the Twins Show too. So we'll have more updates from the Saints, Walker Jenkins, who's in Double-A. So I'll have plenty of updates. And then again, if you guys have anything that you guys want me to ask about or dig around about or just have answered, I can certainly provide that here on the SKOR North Twins Show. So if that's something, hit that like button and subscribe button and drop me a comment or tweet at me of things that you want to hear about. I will gladly try to figure out an answer for you. But appreciate everyone hanging out here on the SKOR North Twins Show. You hit that like button, subscribe button, keep spreading the word. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell anyone about the SKOR North Twins Show. Tell your varsity, junior varsity baseball coach. Doesn't matter. We appreciate all the support. This is SKOR North Twins Show. We'll be back for a State of the Twins tomorrow.